And all of you in the EIMDL course, it'd be great to see you again. We know that you guys have been really busy. I think, well, that's one of the main points of this video. So Tori or John, why don't we just start out with telling us, tell us what your day's like now that you're actually teaching online.
Jonathan,
Tori,
why
you
don't
want
you
to
go
go
first?
Okay.
Well, I was already telling these guys a little bit about this, and that in my school district, a lot of students changed from being in school buildings to homeschooling through our school district's homeschool. And the high school students in our homeschool program typically take courses from my department. And so now I have about 200 students in my English and social studies classes. There are other teachers in my department with many more students than that, but I think because English and social studies are more constructivist type courses with a lot more time goes into feedback. So I get to have slightly fewer students than other teachers. But normally by this time of the school year, I'd have a steady routine. I'd have gotten into a groove. I would know all my students' names and which course they are in, and I haven't done that yet.
Oh,
But
man, that's so many students.
That's
the typical day, my first half hour or so is just checking and answering emails. And if I get all that done, I kind of I start to do grading. And grading and feedback takes up most of my day. Sometimes I will have like a Zoom meeting with students that might need it if they email me that they need some help with something. But I'm not holding any Zoom classes. All the courses are just designed to be, all the information is in the course, and I don't do any direct teaching. But most of my day is grading and solving people's technical problems, which I spent a lot of time today on, and following up with students who don't seem to be engaging. So a lot of emailing or calling parents or school counselors, trying to make sure everybody has access, and then maybe eating lunch, things like that. But typically my day is like the beginning and the end of the day. That's a lot of like emailing.
Yeah.
Everything in the middle is just grading, feedback, the odd Zoom meeting, the odd phone call to a parent kind of thing.
Yeah. And I've noticed too, with asynchronous environments like this, you spend so much time just giving individual feedback and saying the emails to students saying, hey, I haven't seen you in class the last few days, or contacting parents, like you said, and it takes a lot of time. So, yeah, Tori, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I was going to let you go next.
Oh, okay. Well, as I've shared with you guys over WhatsApp, I'm still in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. We have no idea right now when we get back to Kyrgyzstan. So the situation is that Kyrgyzstan will allow people from some countries, but not from the U.S. right now, if they have kids. So my wife and I have permission to come in, but we would have to leave our children in the U.S. So right now, my workday begins at about 9 o'clock at night, because I'm teaching all these classes that are in Bishkek. So 9 o'clock at night, I start going on answering emails and things. All of my classes are asynchronous, but I wrap up around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, go to bed for a few hours, then get up, and 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm back emailing, because that's now a time when I can meet the people at night over in Bishkek, and do that till about noon or 1, take a few hour break and take a nap, and then begin again. So my kids are...
If you take a nap, because I think a nap would be essential.
Almost every time I'm not talking or typing, I nap. So I have a comfortable chair and I just close my eyes and wake up later. So no, it's not at all the way I thought it would be working, but I don't know. If we didn't have asynchronous learning, the school would close, and I I don't know what my kids would be doing for school. So my boys who are in high school, they are taking their classes between 9 and 2 at night. So that's our situation right now. So
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I
so
was
now
actually gonna say
Tori.
that's certainly way more extreme. And why is my camera being a turd? What's going on here?
Um, I don't know.
Oh,
You
I don't
look.
know. It's like all of a sudden.
I know that
my-
that picture just gets bigger when you talk. Was kind of cool too. I thought you were doing it on purpose.
Oh no, I wish
So,
I say that was a intended effect, but I don't know what my
okay.
computer was doing. Um,
No.
but the day that I have right now, it consists of about 20 minutes of prep time the night before. And then I mess around and play video games until about midnight. And then I get up at
That's what
like
everyone thinks online teachers do.
and then I know I'm not contributing to the stereotype at all here. And then so about 6:30 I get up, yeah, just fumble around, get a Diet Coke and a muffin, and I sit down and we have Zoom classes in the morning, and so the camera comes on. And the website, the most difficult initial part of this was transitioning from everybody the school district was trying to pool into one area. So they had one single sign-on, and then how to get them to then go from there. So the first 2 weeks was training them. Okay, so you're going to start here, and then eventually we're going to shift over to the website that I built, so that that's where everything's going to happen. And so it took a while.
Uh-huh.
It took a couple weeks, and I still get the occasional email that's like, I don't know where to find something. So then I made
Yeah.
a screen capture video that demonstrated the how-tos. Okay, so you know how to do this? Boom, throw in the email,
Mm-hmm.
gone. So I didn't have to type out, oh, okay, well, here you go, and then you don't have to repeat the whole thing over again. So I built in a series of tools that I could just email and send. And so once that was kind of ironed down, um, then you have the online stuff. And the most frustrating thing that I've noticed so far is the lack of faces.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of talking to names. Just little blocks of names everywhere. And this was kind of like this
Yeah.
when I first started like college classes online. Nobody wanted to contribute. So you're talking, and then it, if you ever had trouble with the waiting part, where you ask a question, when you're live and there's that awkward, but they tell you, wait,
Mhm.
let the students stew. It's 10 times worse here because you can't see anyone. You're like, is my microphone muted? You're like looking for technical problems. Like, what is
Yeah.
happening here? So
Yeah.
it's gotten to the point to where that takes care of itself. And I have a lot of students that come to those sessions because they just want to see a face, they want to hear a voice. They don't do anything. The
Yeah.
asynchronous stuff is non-existent. Um, as sort of a side note, I thought about doing a paper. I have one
Mm.
unit left, the doctorate thing, besides all the dissertation stuff, where I'm going to work with Dr. Beck on writing a paper about some of the consequences of this online stuff.
Mhm.
What was it? I don't know what that's going to be, but I thought one of it might be the general sort of burnout and how quickly
Mhm.
work stops coming in. The other
Yeah.
thing that and usually so that ends at 10:30,
Yeah.
and then I take a nap for an hour and a half in the middle of the day.
Uh-huh.
This is 19 years. No, it's what, 24 years in the classroom. For me to take an hour and a half nap in the middle of the day blows my mind.
You've
It's
got
like
wow.
so. Then I got back on. So then I have this 2 hour session called After Hours. And so, there's the green screen back here. And so I use what are they called? The Zoom thing that does the green screen thing. So I put on a
Yeah.
little fire movie in the background. So there's like this cozy After Hours feel. And so I invite them in and I send an email. And this is the other thing that's been hugely useful is I went and hand picked out of Google all of the students that I had registered, all of their emails, put it into a
Okay.
Google Doc so I could just copy and paste it into a Gmail and then send it. And I go, hey, after hours on right now. And I would include the link.
Uh-huh.
And I would able to fish 4, 5, 6 people. Um, and then so this Saturday, in order to combat sort of this missing work thing, which is the number one big problem right now, I'm hosting called Total Recall Saturday, where I can take them from the very beginning all the way up through current, get them caught up in about 4.5 hours.
Wow.
So it's
That's
intense,
good. Yeah.
but I know these students and I know how much grit they don't have. So
Yeah.
as soon as that gap starts to get big, their effort just goes like, whatever. It just, they
Yeah.
just disappear off of the radar. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's just kind of how it worked out.
All right. So Tori, just keep enjoying this virus as every time there's a plague, somebody benefits, I guess.
Oh
So,
my God, I have benefited so hugely from this. You have no idea. Like, I'm still in the doctor program because of the virus.
uh, well, one thing that stood out to me from all of what we've said is none of us are doing right now what we thought we'd be doing in August when we were designing our courses. So like Jonathan has so many more students. My schedule is all strange. Tori's using all this Zoom stuff. So the last time we made a video, we were talking about making the design document and, planning ahead, designing everything. Typically, how much changes from how you design the course to what it actually looks like when you go live?
That's actually a really good question because it really does change. I mean, even the stuff that I've built is going on its 5th year of implementation. So the nuts and bolts have kind of been ironed out, but even still, I've had to go in there and make modifications.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found that assignments and assessments, because when your class sizes are smaller, you have more time for grading and you can give more in-depth feedback, then you can have more constructivist type assignments. But I'm finding that on certain quizzes and things, I have adjusted the settings so that now students can take it multiple times without having to ask me to reset it first. Things like that, where it saves me time. And ultimately, you know what, it's okay if they look up the answers. They're still getting the information, or depending on how the test is designed, it's fine to do that anyway. Use your notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have cut out some of the more complex assignments because it not only saves me time, it saves them time, because I'm having a lot of students, kind of like what Tori was describing, that are new to this, where, in years past, a lot of my online students are students that have been taking online classes for a couple of years, and they're already pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But this year I have mostly new online learners that have never done this stuff up until this year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is training them on how to find things in the course and making those screencasts like Tori was talking about. Or what I started doing last year or even the year before is I just have this running Google Doc that's called Common Responses. And I have a thing where it's like, if a student is not setting their Google Doc permissions properly, I have an email already composed that I can just paste in. Or if they're not checking my feedback comments on Canvas. So I have the things that once I started realizing I've been typing the same email to so many different students.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I just started putting them in this Google Doc. So anytime I need one, I just pull it out and paste it. And I customize it with the student's name and maybe another way or two. So it's not like, it doesn't feel as much like a form email, but that saves me time too. So I find that I am making some tweaks. Most of my changes are in the effort of saving time for me and the students and reducing frustration, but also just that students will contact me with things that don't seem to be working right.
Yeah.
And so that's a very common thing for students, especially those students that work very quickly. They're the first ones to find the problem. And if they know to email you about it, then you can get it fixed before most of them see it.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
those changes happen all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Tori?
Well, one of the things that I had to
Yeah.
change specifically, and this was probably the biggest change I had to make, was how do I assess like the formative stuff? Because in class we had a
Oh, yeah.
notebook, and we would do everything together as a group, and then I could look at it, I could assess it, I could tell them what they were doing right or wrong, and I could hand it back to them. It was real fast. But now that that's gone,
Mhm.
not wanting to really indulge in the sending pictures of notebooks thing, I had to come up with something different. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can do this here. I want to show you. I want to like walk through some of the adjustments that I've made here, and hopefully it
Yeah. Looks
shows up.
good.
Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Ah, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm recording it here too. All right. So um, there was there's the packaging, the daily packaging of what needed to do. So I've got Zoom
Mhm.
links, and I tried to make sure that those links never changed, like they were always the same. Um,
Yeah.
this, we had to do the whole Pledge of Allegiance American thing, so we had a video for that. But
Hmm.
down here, this is really where we adjusted, and I called I call these daily activities participation at home assessment and recognition task, or the fart. This is the sort of stuff you could do when you have tenure. So when, when each one of these represented a segment, like a learning topic, and so
Uh-huh.
every other class, because they would show up every other day, um,
Okay.
they could click here. So we'll click here, and it would take them to a Google form where I could collect period number, last name, and then I could ask the questions that were based on the training. And so they could go through, and some of them had multiple answers, and then
Yeah.
some of them were calculations, and then they could submit it and then get a grade for it. So here, let me because this was formative, they could just take it. And then I programmed it so that it had some, oh, I have to put a period number in there and my last name. Okay, so there it is. And here we go. So we'll submit. All right, so it gives me score. So I can view the score. I can edit my responses. So let's view the score. All
Yeah.
right, so let's go through here. So it tells what the right answer is, but it also explains why it's the right answer.
Nice. And
Um,
this is all Google Forms, right?
yeah, this is all Google Forms. Now this is the quiz mode of Google Forms.
Mhm.
And I think hold on. Maybe because I'm the administrator on this account, it just shows me everything. But I
Okay.
think what it normally does is it does the feedback thing. Like it'll show you what you got wrong, and then it'll say, all right, so here's your feedback. And
Mm.
so there's a little hint here that has them go back to the source material, check it, and then try it again. I have kids that have, taken this numerous times, and then it all shows up on the back end, which I'll show you here
Mhm.
in a second because I think that's probably worth taking a look at. And this is done through the school district. I don't like doing that because once I leave and when I leave, all of that stuff disappears. So I have to then recreate it somewhere. So up at the top here, I've got 192 responses to this one. It breaks it down. I mean, this is the one thing that operating in a notebook did not do. Like I couldn't see a
Yeah.
score distribution. I couldn't see when they finished it. I couldn't see a breakdown of, which this should all be equal, because all of the classes are about equal size, but they're not. So I can see that, fifth period is kind of slacking off here. And then I can see what percentage of the people put what answers, which is more data that I had now that I did not have before. So I can kind of figure out, okay, well, what is the problem here? Is there a global misconception that I can address? Which is
Mhm.
something I did not have before. And I'm seriously considering keeping it because it
That's yeah.
provides information that I didn't have before. So I can open up the back end and here's all of the back end stuff. And typically what I'll do is I'll sort the columns, by period, so I can go through and, just pick them out, and line them up, and put them into the book, so that I can put them in the grades and do all that grade stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
this was the adjustment that I had to make, and I don't know, the kids are adjusting to it.
Yeah.
But what they're also doing is they're also kind of growing tired of them. There's a fatigue factor that comes in with this. At first, it was kind of new and different, and now it's like more of the same thing. And I don't know if that's just an American ADD thing, or if that's, just kids in general.
I think it's teachers and kids and everybody right now, because you guys have both commented on how hard it is to get to know your students when they're just a name and there's no face, there's no background. And one thing with that I've noticed has been a big struggle for me is I can't do the formative assessment that I'm always doing of watching their faces and seeing if they understand.
Yep.
Asking a quick question, listening to their group conversations. And this just shows, I don't know, maybe you guys don't have this pride issue, but I really enjoy the positive feedback, like overhearing a student say, "Oh, that was a cool class," or, "Hey, did you
see, the
what do you think
great
about that?"
teachers are all divas on the inside.
We are. Yeah. I liked walking through the hallway, hearing
Yep.
kids talk about
Yep.
their class.
Yep.
And now the only time I get feedback is if a parent or student is upset. And then they have to be pretty upset to email you, but
Sure.
they don't email say, "Hey, that was a funny story in class today."
No.
So I'm missing that. Hey, we're approaching the end of the time for this, but as we're coming to the end of September, the time when most teachers start really thinking about summative assessments, and getting some grades down if you haven't yet. What are some of any insights you guys have on summative assessments and making sure of test security, things like that, in a completely online world? Or is that a discussion topic for the next video?
Well, we're already at 22 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
maybe
maybe
we
that's we meet again in a couple weeks and
yeah, let's do that.
do another one.
All right. That sounds good, because I think that's an issue that a lot of people are going to be looking at closely before the end of this first quarter. So, well, thanks. Jonathan or Tori, do you guys have anything else to add as we kind of wrap up?
Not in particular. Although I think that the idea of using each other as a mutual resource, Jonathan used the term crowdsourcing, which is super powerful to help solve problems or find ways to approach things. I think people in general, and I include us in this too, that we get caught in a certain line of thinking, and it's difficult to break out from that. So let's find a way to vocalize the challenges. Let's materialize them in a way to where we can open them up to everybody, so that we can solve some of these things rather than just going, "Oh well, it is what it is, and I don't know what to do about it."
Yeah, just that we have this central meeting place of this Moodle course, what we could be using for all kinds of support and feedback for what our challenges are and what our successes are, and just share what's working for us, and maybe somebody else will find that. And of course, we've got other resources as well, but just because I know we're all kind of struggling to adapt, and like we all said, none of us is doing what we thought we would be doing. And so while we're struggling, we can also reach out and get help from other people with similar struggles that might have a moment to tell us what's working for them.
Yeah, and even though some of us have been doing this longer than others, none of us have done it to this extent in this type of situation, where so many people just don't have an option. So all of you in the course, as you watch this, please post up comments and give us ideas of how we could do this best. How can we help each other most effectively to share ideas? Is it through the course, through WhatsApp, through Facebook pages, through through some webinars. Give us some ideas of what would help you with this, and that's what we want to do. So we have some more time to work together, and we want to make it as effective as we can for all of us, because all of us need some help. So thanks, guys, and we'll try and get another video up about summative assessment before too long too.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yep. Good. All right. I don't have any catchphrase to close up.
You
but-
really need one.
See,
You
I
need to work
yeah.
on that.
What rhymes with EIMDL? Farewell. Okay.
And we'll see you online.
I like that. Okay. Arm free. We all point.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.